everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelvin and I'm from Cameroon. You can call me the Cameroonian polyglot, or you can, shouldn't. So, like I promised you guys, I was gonna create a language series for Kelvin's called Kelvin Tips for Learning Foreign Languages. And today we are gonna start with the episode 1 of Kelvin's Tips for Learning Foreign Languages. Actually, I have 8 main tips for learning foreign languages, but I think I'm going to categorize them into 2 sections. The first 4 are for beginners, total beginners, and the last 4 are for people who are in the intermediate section. So these are 8 main tips for learning foreign language. Now I'm going to start with the number 1. Number 1 tip for learning a foreign language. You have to motivate yourself to fall in love with the language as much as you can. Yes, that's the truth. Because I think what keeps you going when you're learning a foreign language is your love for it, and you can do this by researching how many people speak this language, how useful is this language, what do you yourself love about this language. Try to research, try to build all these things and put in front of your eyes and your mind so that you feel love for the language. Give yourself reasons to love this language even more. And with this, the passion, nothing can kill that passion. And with the passion, I believe you can learn this language till the end. Because without passion, you end halfway and you get stuck at one point and you're not going to continue. And then the second tip that I have is, in any language that you choose, any target language that you've chosen that you want to learn, you need to at least master 25 common phrases of this language, your target language, whatever target language you've chosen. Master at least, you have to really master at least 25. You can master more, but at least 25 common phrases like good morning in the language, good evening, how are you, common things. And while doing this, take note of how they are pronounced and spelled. The alphabet of the language may not yet make sense to you, but try to passively observe how the common phrases you're absorbing are spelled. You can do this through YouTube. Yeah, I do it through YouTube, or I do research on Google. That's how. You can do it through YouTube or research on Google. Try to know how they're pronounced and spelled in the target language, and passively try to absorb how the language is, how the alphabet work in the language, without necessarily taking an alphabet lesson to learn how letters are being pronounced. No, just try, when you learn common phrases, try to absorb how, or try to passively discover how the letters works, how the phrases, how the words. Just try to passively grab that in. The third tip number 3 that I would tell you is, check out the verbs and how they are conjugated in this language. And this part is sacrifice. This part is not easy. This part is always difficult. This part is painful. But this is where the sacrifice comes in. This is where, because of your love for the language, you need to sacrifice time for it. You need to really sit down and learn how to conjugate in this language, in your target language, whatever target language it is, how the verbs work in the target language. You really need to sit down and figure it out. You need time to do it. You need to put your heart into it. It's gonna be painful, it's gonna be time consuming, but you just need to do it. This is where the pain of learning language as a beginner, total beginner, comes in. You really need to do this. Master the conjugation, master how the verbs works, and that's it. The 4th tip that I'm gonna be giving, the tip number 4, which is the best, is you need to master the Kelvin's 5 magic verbs. What are these verbs that I call the Kelvin's 5 magic verbs? In my target language, in my first language, English, the verb to be, the verb to have, the verb to be able, the verb to go, and the verb to want. These are the 5 magic verbs, and you need to master their present tense to your fingertips, and also master example phrases with the 5 magic verbs: the verb to be, the verb to have, the verb to be able, and the verb to go, and the verb to want. These are the Kelvine's 5 magic verbs. You master them to your fingertips. The conjugation, the present tense conjugation of these 5 verbs to your fingertips, and example phrases with them to your fingertips also. These are the first section of what I call the beginners. The first tip. These first 4 tips are more important to the beginners. Yeah, because when someone just starts a language, it's usually a little bit confusing. But these first tips are more towards the beginners, people who just starting. And when doing the magic verbs, the conjugation, and the 25 common phrases, try as much as possible to passively absorb how the alphabet system of the language works. Why is this necessary? Because if you go through there are some languages, when you go through the traditional way of learning the alphabet, a, b, k, d, you get bored, and even the little passion you had generated for this language will just die down. But if you passively try to absorb how the language is written, how things are spelled, and how things are pronounced in the language during the time where you try to master at least 25 common phrases, when you check out the verb system, and when you try to master the Kelvine's 5 magic verbs, it will do you good, do you so much good. Okay, now for the next tips, the second section, tip number 5. Tip number 5 is music and song lyrics. This is how I call tip number 5. Now, tip number 5 is something you can still start doing from the day one of your language learning process, or you can start doing it later. But tip number 5 is so important in the language learning process, because tip number 5, music and song lyrics. Music, when you sing in your target language a lot, it helps your vocal get a relationship with your brain in such a way that the words from your brain connect to the vocal. It's more like you're practicing how to connect words from your brain. I think some people have been in this situation where they know what to say in a language, they have it in their head, they know how it's being said, but they want to say it, and it just doesn't come out. It's because in the head, in your mind, in your brain, you have it, but your vocal has not trained itself for that language, so it's finding it difficult to produce the sound that is in your mind. So singing in the target language, whatever target language, will help your vocal to be able to adapt to the language easier without any stress. You adapt, your vocals just adapt to the language. For English speakers, the way we speak is because our vocals are adapted to English, in the way English sounds, and so we think something in our head and it just comes out. But you see that if I try to speak in Spanish, it's just good for me that I've already practiced my vocals in Spanish. But if I didn't, it would sound a little bit stressful, like for my Chinese that I'm doing now. Sometimes it's a little bit stressful because I really need to work on my vocals. I usually have words in Chinese in my head, but I cannot produce them perfectly because I'm still trying to work my vocals. So music and song lyrics. Music helps you work your vocals. Sing a lot in your target language, and the songs that you sing, try to sing them correctly. So you need to download lyrics, and you read these lyrics often and write them often, and when writing them, absorb how they are being spelled and pronounced. This will help you the stress of trying to do the traditional way of mastering the alphabet, a, b, k, d. So music and song lyrics, very important in language learning process. In fact, in my language learning process, I trust music and song lyrics the highest, because the more music I learn, the more I just absorb a lot of stuff, grammar, sounds, and spellings. Even how they call it. The more I just absorb a lot of phrasal verbs, a lot of idioms. Yeah. So music and song lyrics are so important in the language learning process. So this tip 5 is so important. In your target language, you need to learn music, and you need to write a lot of what you sing, whatever music you sing. And my advice for this is, don't just sing any music in the language you're learning. Sing music that you love. If you don't love music in the language, skip it. Search for the ones that you really like, your kind of music in that target language, so that you can really enjoy, have fun learning your language, so that it will not be a boring something. Actually have fun learning your language. Look for music that you really love, that you really feel connection to. Write the lyrics, sing the song, practice the lyrics, write it down. Turn yourself around writing, reading, and singing. Yes, that's the fastest way to master a language. I tell you, if you try it, you're gonna see the results. Tip number 6. And just like I said in the beginning, these tips, it's not a must to follow them strictly like I'm giving it 1 to 6. No, you can follow it the way you think it can work for you, depending on the kind of language you're learning. Tip number 6, the grammar. This is in tip number 6. I advise that tip number 6 is painful too, because sometimes you can absorb language easily, but the grammar will not be too good. So you need to really spend time. This is sacrifice again. Spend time to practice the grammar, to go deep into the grammar. Well, for a person who is already doing music and song lyrics, grammar, you just need to be trying, and most of the things will not be too strange to you, because you are into songs and song lyrics. So you just need to try now to get the grammar, so that you're sure about so many things, because sometimes we get stuck in a language learning process because we are not certain or sure about anything. So grammar, you need to really put time to study grammar, especially when you're doing the song and lyrics. You can just look at why something is said in a particular way in the song, and you try to find out, and you try to check out the grammar behind it. The grammar is so important. Now, number 7, the tip number 7 is a tip which I would say is also like a motivational tip. Tip number 7, find friends online on Facebook, WhatsApp. To search language groups on Facebook, write and say the kind of friends you're looking for the target language. And when you find such friends, discuss with them, chat with them, have inspiration from them. Let them tell you what they know about the language, what makes them like the language. Just have conversation that will help inspire you, and some of them might even give you more tips than I am giving you. So make friends online. That's tip number 7. And the last but not the least of my tips, tip number 8, surround yourself with the language. Whatever language you've chosen to learn, it's a sacrifice. Surround yourself with the language. Listen to music, watch films, watch boring news in the language. Play music all the time in the language. Just sacrifice it. If you don't want to disturb people who are around you, you can have a headset or earphones that you can put on. Surround yourself with the language. Watch films, listen to music, sing all the time. Try to say things you've seen in a film that uses the language. Just have all your friends speak. Just try to speak more with friends who speak this language as their native language, and I bet you with all these tips you're going to master any language that you want to master, any language in the world, like I said. So with all that said, for those who have never tried learning a language before, whatever language you want to learn, you can just go to YouTube and type learn. If it's Spanish, you type learn Spanish. If it's Portuguese, you type learn Portuguese. Whatever language, just type learn and you put the language, and you're going to see a lot of resources, a lot of ways to learn this language. And same on Google, you can just Google how to learn a particular language. How do I learn Chinese? How do I learn? And so as easy as that, you can start your journey of learning a foreign language. So before you go, people, if you've learned anything, if this video was helpful, please hit the like button, and the comment section leave a comment. And if you've not yet hit the subscribe button, if you really want to be a part of the language family, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next episode of Kelvine's tips for learning the foreign languages. Love you guys.